All right, everybody, welcome back. We are here with another exciting edition of what in my brain I'm calling King Gong Podcast, even though this is like a video vlog kind of thing. We have a really cool guest today hanging out with Tony and I. This is Justin Vibes. If you have not heard of Justin, you're probably going to have your mind blown today. Or you should just open social media on your phone and kind of check out what's going on in the mallet world on the internet. Odds are you will probably run into him. But we're going to be talking with him today, getting ready for the Steve Weiss Mallet Festival that's coming up August 4th through 6th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Justin is going to be joining us at Chris's Jazz Cafe for the Saturday night concert, which we're super excited about. So we're going to hang with him a little bit today and get to know him, hear him play a little bit, and it's going to be a great time. Thanks for joining us, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
First, I'm going to do a commercial and show off again Morning Vibes Coffee. I convinced this coffee company to make a vibraphone coffee, and this is it. And you can see there's a picture of a vibraphone on the bag, so it's really cool. And Justin doesn't drink coffee, so Matt, I'm going to send
But
it
I
to
do.
you.
I do.
I'm telling you, you're going to love it.
Well,
Okay,
the best thing is that my name is Matt Bronson and the company is Baldorf and Bronson.
there you
It's
go.
meant to it's
That's
meant to
perfect.
be. I know,
That's
man.
perfect.
Meant to be. So I'm really glad Justin's coming, and I'll go forward and work my way backwards just to give everybody a clear picture of this guy. So if I go all the way forward, I was sitting down with Joe Locke and Stefan Harris, and I said, "You guys know Justin Vibes?" And they both said, "That's one bad vibe player." So that's cool. So, and then I go and I tell I'm going to do it quickly. I tell a quick Roy Ayers story. And when I saw Roy Ayers play in the '80s, he was playing, it was more of a pop thing, and it was cool. He's cool. And I thought, yeah, okay, he's okay. I was wrong. Because when I went back and dug into his playing, he was a monster. I describe him by saying he's at least a Bobby Hutcherson. So, so you do a lot of social media stuff, and you make your instrument so appealing. And sometimes mallet players or vibe players think, oh man, and it's like 40 million views. This guy, more people have seen Justin Vibes play vibes than any other vibe player on the planet, and that's only on one video. So you take them all, like he's exposing this instrument to everybody. And what's cool to know, if you watch him play, and you're careful if you don't write him off. Oh, that's a silly tune. If you listen to him, you hear the rhythm's impeccable, and then he does the beat with the mouth thing. What do you call it? I'm old.
It's called beatbox.
Beatbox, right? He does the beatboxing thing, and if you're paying attention, you quickly go, "This is a bad mofo." Just like just like sometimes you go into a hotel and there's a piano player sitting there playing, and he's playing, and you don't listen to him because he's playing whatever, and then you stop and you start listening, you start going, "Oh my God, this guy's incredible."
I appreciate the really kind words, Tony. Like I said, I'm a fan of you. I got your mallets here, with Mike Balter. I use those all the time. The really colorful ones.
Right.
I don't know if you have another model, but those are the ones I use all the time.
I moved, so you're helping sell. Yeah, that's okay because you're helping Zildjian, and I went with you know what? I'm going to get you a pair of my new mallets. See if you like them.
Okay,
That's what I'll get
okay,
you for being on the show today.
okay. I appreciate it.
Cool, man.
Um,
So Tony, if I know that you probably have a million things you want to ask Justin, but I'm kind of hoping we can go back to kind of what you started to talk about in the intro. And can you just tell us a little bit about your background, Justin? Kind of maybe not like, super far back, but you've obviously kind of had maybe not the traditional journey of, someone that either goes to school for music, but maybe you can tell us if you did go to school for music, what you did and maybe how you kind of the Cliff Notes version, if you will, of how you got to where you are now. It would be great to hear it from you.
Yeah, definitely. So believe it or not, I was in my mind, the next jazz guy. And I think that's usually what, you know, probably most musicians would think I'm going to practice as much as I can to be the next jazz guy. So that was what I was thinking. I want to be the next, Stephon Harris, or be the next Joe Locke in my own way somehow, or the next Tony Maselli in some way. And I just got burnt out, like not necessarily by the music, because I still love the music, believe it or not, with everything that I do on social media. All I play on my playlist here when like the cameras are off is jazz. So I love the music of jazz. The career is what I got burnt out by. Just chasing the next gig. So I did go to school. I went to Baltimore School for the Arts. And from there, I was either going to go to Peabody, I was going to go to UArts, I was going to go to New School, Manhattan School, or Chicago. They had DePaul University and Roosevelt University. I ended up going to DePaul University in Chicago. And I went there and studied classical and jazz there as well. And did the whole jazz thing, playing in a bunch of different bands, started my own band, playing standards, literally playing any and everything. Because I think, jazz musicians, we study a lot to be able to like be well equipped for the industry. So, I would say that like a musician, such as a jazz musician, could hang with Latin jazz musicians, can hang with gospel musicians. It may not sound the same, it may not feel the same or sound the same, but a jazz musician can hang with a gospel musician, blues, rock, whatever you call it. You're kind of learning everything you need to know. And I did that for a while I was teaching part time. I worked at Guitar Center. Um, it was interesting because people at Guitar Center didn't know I was a jazz musician, and jazz musicians didn't know I worked at Guitar Center until they figured out they can get some discounts from me. But so I did that whole thing, gone and got my degree. I went back and got a teacher certificate, or partially, just because my heart wasn't really in like teaching, like to be a full-time teacher. And so I did that whole thing. I even taught at my school, DePaul University, taught jazz vibe lessons. And yeah, so I was in Chicago, then I moved to LA and still did the jazz thing. But then while I'm doing all of this, I have a songwriting background, production. So I do a lot of producing, making beats and writing lyrics. And so I'm doing all of this. So I'm having like this life of, I guess, doing production, and then this other life of playing jazz. And so in my mind, I started thinking, how can I blend the two? So it was never really well, let me just alienate them. It was like, I can somehow blend the two, but I just didn't know how. So I moved to LA and I realized that a lot of the marginalizing, I guess, sectors of music were kind of blended. And I was just like, wait a second, like, you mean this person who's a jazz musician also happens to be, this producer for whoever? And so it was really interesting to see that. And I can't really speak on New York, just because I haven't been on the scene in New York, but I'm sure there's some of that as well. And did the jazz thing for about a year, and then I got picked up by a pop band, and been on the road with them for like 3 years, just playing like pop music on the vibraphone. Well, then it was the Malacat. Excuse me.
What's the
And I
name
guess
of
to
the
be a
band?
little bit more specific, more like uh, alternative pop. Think like Pet Shop Boys. Think of like maybe Duran Duran. Um, just definitely completely different than playing, opera vav, or playing like, some like killer jazz tune. So, but the cool thing is that I got to play jazz in the band. They knew I was a jazz musician, so they allowed me to improvise, and so it was cool. But a lot of it was just backing tracks and stuff like that. That went on for like 3 years, and then songwriting took over. So then I started doing that, and then like social media took over while I was doing songwriting, and it was really just like figuring out a way, how can I continue to elevate, this sound of the vibraphone. I remember asking Joe Locke, like, hey, you know, would it be okay if I like played pop music on the vibraphone? And he told me, man, go for it. And looking at Joe Locke as like one of the greats, I ran with it. I'm like, I'm going for it. And I think my mind was already there. I've talked to another musician who actually plays with he plays his bass player, Lauren Cohen, plays with Stefan a lot. But this piano player named Ryan Cohen, uh he really kind of pulled me to the side and said, hey man, like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's your goal? And I was really able to like talk to him and really kind of think about where I wanted to go. And so that really kind of helped, me focus my mind on what is it that I'm really going after. Like, it's okay to step away from this jazz thing, but it didn't feel like it because everyone around me is so focused on it. And um, I think there's just those thoughts of like, oh, well, I'm going to lose my chops. I'm not going to be one of the cats. I'm going to be a sellout. I had to like at some point not care, and just go for it. And so here I am today, with uh, musicians actually asking me, hey, man, how did you do what you did? And I'm talking about jazz musicians who would never really post themselves on social media. So it's been a long, that's like the shortest version I can give in the Cliff Notes, but it's definitely been a very like full circle moment in weird ways because sorry,
I didn't get that. Could you
Siri's
try
listening.
again?
I don't know if you just heard Siri. Siri, I don't
It's
need
not a
anything.
problem.
That's
She
that's
knows.
awful. She knows.
No, you're good.
Um, and so yeah, it's been interesting, just like how musicians have said, like, man, you like I know your background and you doing this. It's almost as if they wish to be in this position, and it's not too late. But it sounded like it was too late for them in a sense, and I'm like, but it's never too late. So I don't know if that answers your question, but uh,
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
it's I think as close I think as you could get to it. It's like the interesting thing is and your background is so unique is that you kind of approached getting out of the jazz space the same way that it sounds like some of those jazz folks are asking you like how do I get out, as opposed to you being like, man, I can't believe I'm getting out of this. They're like, get me out of here.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
interesting. So I didn't know that you and Tony had kind of met when you were younger and you were looking at schools. That's pretty cool. Um and that's cool that what you had mentioned about Joe Locke. So very cool.
Man, I
Yeah,
wish
like
you would have come to my school.
yeah, well, funny thing is that I end up going to Chicago partially because they gave me the most money. Um, I mean, to be completely honest, it was they gave me the most money. I actually haven't heard back from Roosevelt to this day. Um, I don't know what Manhattan School. I think Manhattan School said no. Oh, funny thing is, I just remembered. I remember so when I had actually caught up with Joe Locke, I said, "Hey man, I had an audition at your school. You didn't even show up because I was upset." And he was like, "I'm not even teaching there." And I'm like, "Really? They have you on the website? I think it's Manhattan School or New School or something like
Hmm.
that." And he's like, "Yeah, they have you on the website." He's like, "Yeah, I've been telling them to take my name off of there for so long." And so it made sense why when I showed up for my audition, he wasn't there. But for so many years, I was like, "Dang, he couldn't even showed up." Like just
He snuffed you, man, right? It's like
exactly. But yeah, all is well in that department. I mean, once he told me, I was like, well, I have no reason to be upset at you. But
so in
um,
relation to that, just one thing, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I'm just curious, but how old are you and how long ago was that experience for you? Like how long ago
so
were you in
I'm
school?
36.
Okay.
That was, I mean, that had to be when I was 17, so probably about 19 years ago, something like that.
So you're kind
Um,
of looking at if you were to look at your career as, I guess, when college starts, which is, I teach part-time at a very small university, but to try to motivate people, I tell them like your career starts when you're in college because that's really when I mean, before then, but your real
mhm.
like professional career starts when you're in college. So you're looking at, you've essentially been doing this for 20 years at this point almost, which is wild to
Yeah,
think about, right?
yeah, it's I mean, I don't know, because part of that, I feel like I was still figuring it out. Like I mean, I kind of took the approach of process of elimination. So I did everything, and then realized along the way some of these things weren't just driving me to do it anymore. So it's like, oh, I'm playing chamber music. This is great. Oh, I'm playing the vibraphone. Okay, we're playing some, piece that involves the vibraphone. It's a solo vibraphone piece. And then next thing I know, I'm like, well, I'm not really interested in that. So I go down the line and just kind of like been working my way to what was the thing that was driving my happiness of playing the vibraphone. So I mean, um, so I guess that's is part of it. I mean, when you think of like Miles Davis, he was also thinking of his band for like 2 years. So I guess yeah, I was figuring it out, but for me, it felt like I was like, I don't know, confused in a sense. But I
But
guess that's part
you
of it.
know yourself. I mean, a lot of guys don't know yourself. I didn't know myself in my 20s. I
Yeah,
didn't even know how to make those decisions. Although my thing that I think back is I think I just love playing the vibes. I mean, that's why I do it. And as a result, I don't make a ton of money or anything like that. And it's been a hard 40 years, but every day I get up, I come here and I start playing and I'm not tired of playing. So that's my main motivation. Stefan Harris says, "This is just my voice. I'm not in love with this instrument. It could be this instrument, it could be a trumpet, it could be whatever." And I would express my voice. So there's like when he says that, I'm always thinking, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know,
yeah,
but there's a guy with a different and here you are, young going, "Okay, I'm doing this. I can do it." I'm not so interested in it. And when you talk like that, I imagine I wish I would have talked to you. We gave Roy Ayers an award a while ago. We were asking him questions online, and I would like to have asked him what, because I imagine it was similar. Like, I'm doing this, I'm playing the club, and I'm looking out. There's 9 people, and I'm thinking, no, no, I want to do more. And that's the same like your story, which I think is incredible. I said your name to somebody, and they were like, "Do you see his videos? He can't play." I said, "What do you mean he can't play? He's badass." And I couldn't believe that somebody would do that. But then I realized I did it. I did
yeah,
it with Roy Ayers, thinking, he's okay.
yeah,
No, he's not okay. He's a monster. So I think, and then I think there's a lot of projection of people like, I'm a jazz musician. I'm sweating it out. I'm doing it. You stop doing it, well, screw you, man. Like I'm dumping my stuff on you, and then you go up to Joe Locke, who's thinking, I'm not going to dump anything on you. What do you want to do? Yeah, you should do it. And I think that's the answer we have to give students, and we have to give friends and players. Like I tell my students, what's the worst that happens if you do this? You don't make a lot of money, but you get to do this your life. Well, maybe you'll make a lot of money, and in the end, you drop dead and that's it. Like it doesn't matter. Like nothing matters. So do your thing, whatever your thing is. Okay.
yeah, yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I think at the end of it, like you have to be happy with what you did with your life because you don't get another one. So it's like, all right, well, do I want to be living vicariously through other people or do I want to be living vicariously through myself? And like
Right.
how can I, like so I'm like in the middle of that where it's like I see vibraphone is the thing I love, right? So we're in the same boat there. Like vibraphone is the
Huh.
thing I love. But in my mind, I'm like, but I don't know if I want to be, you know, like, uh, I mean, who was it that I just met? I can't even think of his name. Oh my
Charlie
goodness.
Shoemaker?
No, I can't even think of his name. Wow. It
Older
was just
guy,
that
younger guy?
older guy. Older than you. Um, yeah, but then there was another one who,
Not Terry Gibbs.
Terry Gibbs, yes. Terry
Uh,
Gibbs.
did you
Wow,
go
I
and
can't
hang
even
out
think
with
of
him?
I one time in LA, he lived not too far where I was, and he was telling me, um, he was telling me he had a gig, and he just said, "Man, you know what? I don't feel like playing this gig. They're paying me 10 grand. Yeah, it's great money, but I just don't feel like doing it, and this and that." And I'm thinking in my head, like, man, like, here's a guy who has pretty much an opportunity where he can just show up, play for 10 grand, but he's not even taking it. Well, obviously, I'm not his age, so I don't know. He was saying that they would invite his wife and everything. And I'm like, me, I'm okay with playing the instrument, but I guess in what context? So it just had me thinking, like, what's the context? Because obviously, I mean, he seemed pretty happy, you know. I mean, he showed, you know, we talked and but it just had me thinking like I don't want to be relying on that as the only way to be, you know, making a living as a musician. Um and so I just had, you know, I just had to think of like, okay, well, what is it that I really want to do, you know? And I think, yeah, like Tony, I think you're right. A lot of people aren't thinking about who they are and where they want to go. I think they are thinking about what the community might be saying and maybe trying to fit in. And you know, with vibraphone, it's just easy for us to not fit in. So you kind of have like the best of both worlds where you may fit in and then you may not fit in. And so I don't know if that means that we think differently already because of the instrument we play. But yeah, I just didn't want to continue to chase. So my thinking was like, all right, well, if I'm playing for 9 or 10 people in the audience, well, let me at least see if I can get like 9 views and not have to break down the vibraphone. You know, let me just do that and just see what happens. And I was like, oh wow, I got 100 views. I just played for 15 seconds. You know, versus if I played, you know, 15:9, you know, for some composer that has this song that I don't understand the name of the title. And then it's all this hard music for like hours and hours. And I got to make sure that I'm soloing like in the right keys and oh, it switched to this key. It was just like, man, like, where is this going? Like, for me, the music is all about the soul. And it just got so cerebral that even my brain is like, look, I went to college here. I can think, but this is overload thinking for me, you know. So I think it's just like a hodgepodge of different things, but doesn't mean that the people who are excelling in those areas that it's wrong or that it's bad. It just means it just wasn't for me.
So I think if you'd be willing, maybe we can hear you play something.
Sure.
Cool,
Sure.
man. Do you have I guess maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you want to play. I don't know if you're going to improvise or if you're going to play a tune, do something poppy, do something jazz, whatever's cool.
I'll play
But
something fitting for the occasion.
all right.
So I'll play my one and only love, uh, John Coltrane, and well, the John Coltrane version. I'll just play a little hodgepodge or something like that, where I'll play the melody and I'll improvise, and I don't know. Do I need to like? Is there a limit on how long I need to play, or?
You
Okay.
can play as long or as short as you want. We're just happy you're here. So
All right, so I'll play a little bit, and then yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, man.
That was great. You just up there.
It's been a while since I've played that song, but it just happens to be one of my favorites. So
So we want to thank Justin Vibes for hanging out with us today. Tony and I have had a couple of really great guests so far, and just talking with somebody that is doing something different than our kind of regular guest is really cool. But you've also lived through, what we all have, and it's cool to have those two experiences. But you can check out Justin Vibes August 5th, Chris's Jazz Cafe. He's going to be hanging out with us on that day. And we've got the Steve Weiss Mallet Festival the 4th through 6th. And he's also going to be at the camp, Tony, on the Friday, right?
On the Friday.
So the 31st, or no, 4th, or August 4th. I'm sorry.
4th.
So on the 4th, he'll be at the camp. I'm going to have to come down and check out the camp that day for sure. I'm just like booking out that whole week. At the beginning, my boss was like, "Oh, do you want to go to the camp for like 2 days, get some footage?" Now I'm like, I got to be there like on day one. I might even bring my vibe. Who knows? But Justin, thank you so much for hanging with us. Just a real pleasure. So
thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So we'll see everybody next time. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Justin. See you later.